friends, it's Christy. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to day 24 of my 2020 holiday card series. Today I'm going to be using this stamp set from Sunny Studio called Christmas Cookies. And I have stamped them out on some Neenah Solar White cardstock with Lawn Fawn jet black ink so that I can color with my Copic markers. The shades that I'm using for the gingerbread men themselves, or gingerbread man and gingerbread lady, are E23, E25, and E27. I'm starting with that E27 and laying in a little bit of shadow any place that I think it should go. So I've put it underneath this little boy's hat and also down the sides of his face, on the underside of his arms, and also on his belly where his overalls would be casting a little shadow there, and on the inside of his legs and right up under his shorts. So I used the E27 for that, and now I'm taking that E25 and I'm going to begin to blend that out. That E27 is pretty dark, so I'm making sure to go over the edge of that E27 and pull that darker color with my mid-tone as I'm coloring. So once I have that mid-tone laid in, I'll bring in my highlight shade, which is that E23. Again, I'm going to go right over the very edge of that E25 and pull that color into the lightest section now and just fill in all the rest of the white spaces. Just making sure to really scrub over the edge of those darker colors so that I get a nice smooth blend. I'm also being very careful to avoid that rickrack. I don't want to get any of that brown ink in that area because it's so thin. I just plan to keep it white. So if you haven't noticed this stamp set in the Sunny Studio shop before, that is because it is an exclusive. This stamp set is actually free with a $40 purchase from November 23rd until the 30th. And if you make a $75 purchase, the dies are free as well. They're also offering free shipping on all US orders over $25, which is a total steal. And also 10% of all retail sales will be donated to Convoy of Hope for their COVID-19 Crisis Relief Fund. So if you're interested in picking up these super adorable little gingerbread men, go ahead and click on the links below in the description bar, and that'll take you right to the store where you can make your purchases. And by the way, these will be added to your order automatically. There's no code or anything that you need to add when you make your purchase. If you have the right amount in your cart before taxes and shipping and all of that, it will just automatically be added into your order. So I'm finishing up the coloring on this little girl here. I just colored her exactly the same as far as the actual cookie part of her. And now I'm moving on to some accessories. So I'm using G43, G46, and G29 to color in the little gingerbread man's shorts. So I'm using that G29 first and doing a little bit of darkness on the sides, also between his legs and right up under the belt area. And then I'm going to blend that out with the G46, just pulling that color towards the center. Again, that G29 is quite dark and the G43 is quite a bit lighter, so I really need to work to smooth out those transition areas, but I just love this combo together. I think it looks so beautiful. I wanted his belt and suspenders to be just a little bit of a contrasting color, so I used G23 and G25. Just adding that G25 first wherever I think some shadows should be, and then blending out with the G23, and that's just a little bit of a brighter shade of green. And then for his Santa hat, I'm going to use R24, R29, and R39. I'm putting the R39 right up above the little hat brim and on the part that kind of hangs down. I'm also going to do his bow tie and his buttons in this red combo, so I added a bit of that there, and now I'm going to start blending out with the R29 and just leaving a little bit of room there for the R24. I did just use the darker two shades on his buttons because there wasn't enough room for all three. But for his hat and his bow tie, I definitely am going to add that highlight shade so that we get a lot of depth and contrast. While I have those colors out, I'm also going to color the inside of the little heart cookie, and for that I just used the R29 and the R24. I'm moving on to my gingerbread girl's outfit, and I wanted to give her a pink dress. So I picked RV13, RV14, and RV17. I'm going to add that RV17 on the sides of her dress and also up under her collar. And then I'll begin to blend that out with the RV14. These colors look super bright when you first lay them down, but they do dry back just a little bit, so it won't be quite as intense. But I just think they're a really beautiful combination. And then I'll fill in any remaining white space with that RV13. Again, just going carefully around the little swirls of her rickrack. That RV13 does have a tendency to push the other colors out of the way, so I did go back with a little bit more of that RV14 and then the RV13. And now I'm going to use BG05 and BG07 to color in the little bow on the top of her head. Just put the BG07 in the center and blended out the edges with the BG05. And then I did her buttons and the buttons on his suspenders with the BG05 as well. I'm using C0 to add a little bit of shading to the white part of his Santa hat. And then I'm also going to put it on her collar and then a tiny little bit on the rickrack on each of their arms and legs and also on her dress. I wasn't sure at the beginning what color I wanted that cookie to be, but I ended up deciding to go back to my gingerbread shades. But this time I'm just using the E25 and the E27. It was a little dark, so I pulled in the E23 and colored over a little bit of the E25, trying to lighten it a bit. And then I took my black Sakura Jelly Roll pen and I'm going to go over their eyes to make them nice and bright and shiny. Again, this is just an extra step that I love to do because it just adds a little bit of texture to their faces. And then I'll trim them out with the coordinating dies. For my sentiment, I'm taking Lawn Fawn's Peacock ink and stamping on a little strip of white cardstock. I'm using the sentiment that comes in the Christmas Cookies stamp set, which is Sweet Holiday Wishes. And then I will pop my card base in my MISTI. I'm using a piece of Lawn Fawn's Mermaid cardstock. And I'm stamping the gingerbread man and the two little hearts that come in that set, along with the sentiment that is from Inside Greetings Holiday. It says, wishing you a holiday filled with peace, love, joy, and lasting happiness. For my pattern papers, I'm mixing prints from both the Holiday Cheer and the Very Merry 6x6 pack. And I've got this candy print that I've trimmed down with the outer die from Frilly Frames Quatrefoil. Then I use the Slimline Basic Borders for the red stripe. I'm going to glue that candy print straight to my card base. It's going to just cover that completely. And then the pink print that's got tone-on-tone little designs on it, I trimmed that down on the sides with the Frilly Frames Quatrefoil outer die as well, just so that stitching detail would line up the entire way around the card front. I glued that down just a little high of center, and now I'm going to add a thin bead of glue right below it and press this little red stripe right underneath that I've die cut with that scallop border. And I'm just going to hold it in place for a second there so that the glue has time to adhere, and then I'm going to repeat that process on the top. And I just turn my card upside down because I find it easier to attach things straight that way when they're facing toward me. So I'm going to again just hold that into place so that it's lined up perfectly. until the glue has had a chance to set. And then I will take my cutter bee scissors and just trim off the excess. For my focal panel, I've taken the Fancy Frames circle dies and die cut that out of white paper, white cardstock, and then also out of that same red stripe that I used for the scallops. I'm going to flip that over to the back side and tape that down into place so that all of these pieces are just one unit so that I can pop it up later on with some foam tape. So I added about 4 pieces to just kind of hold everything together, and then once I have that foam tape on the back as well, that will help hold things together even more. So I'm going to peel off those release papers, and I did add a lot of that foam tape just to make sure that that panel was really well supported. I'm going to turn it so that the stripe is in the same exact slant as the stripes on the little scalloped strips and pop that into the center of my card base. And now I'm ready to begin to add my images. So I'm going to add some liquid glue to the back of both the little boy and the little girl so that I can get them spaced just perfectly. I want to add them both at the same exact time. So I'm just kind of figuring out my placement, and then I'll press them down into place. Then I'll take the gingerbread heart and I'm going to add that right in between them just to signify that they're in love. And I've trimmed the little sentiment strip down to be a bit thinner. I'm going to take off a little bit from the ends, and then I'll make a fishtail by cutting up from the side and then bringing the little corners in to meet it. So I'm just doing like a little triangle shape notch out of the ends. And then I'm going to add that with some liquid glue right below their feet. Just kind of tuck it right up underneath them. As a final embellishment, I'm going to take some Stardust stickles and add a little bit here and there. And especially on a card like this, it's just going to make it look like it's nice and sugary sweet. So it's just perfect. So I added a little bit to the red of the heart cookie, and then I'm also doing it on the gingerbread boy's hat, on the white part of his hat. I'm also going to do it on his bow tie and buttons and all of their rickrack. And then for the girl, I'll also add it on her bow and buttons and the rickrack on her dress as well. So I'll lift that up to the camera so you can see how that glitter catches the light, and I'll give you another peek at the inside. Again, these stamps are exclusive just for this sale right now, so if you're interested in picking them up, you can click on the link in the description bar below. It'll take you to all of the products that I used today. And if you enjoyed the video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe and ring that notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. I post new ones every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And if you'd like to keep watching, here are 2 extra videos from previous years of holiday card series that I thought might also interest you. I hope you all have an absolutely amazing day. Bye-bye.